right? We asked the boxing pros who wins John Fury versus Carl Froch, and the answers are absolutely all over the place. Because on paper, this should be simple. Former unified world champion Hall of Famer, still in incredible shape against a 60-year-old man who has never laced up a pair of gloves professionally in his life. Should be simple, right? But here is the thing, not a single person we have spoken to is giving you a straightforward answer. And when you hear why, you will understand exactly why this fight is making everyone in the sport genuinely nervous to call. Stay with me because this one is wild. Before we get into the predictions, let's just quickly set the scene for anyone who needs the full picture because the context here genuinely matters when you are trying to understand why the pros are so divided on this. Carl Froch, 4-time world champion, unified super middleweight champion of the world, International Boxing Hall of Famer, knocked George Groves unconscious in front of 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium, went to war with Mikkel Kessler twice, fought Andre Ward, beat Jean Pascal, Arthur Abraham, Lucian Bute. This man has been in the trenches at the absolute highest level of professional boxing for over a decade. He is nearly 48 years old now, but he still looks like he could hurt someone seriously, and everyone in the sport knows it. John Fury, 60 years old. Father of Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, former unified heavyweight world champion. Has never had a professional boxing fight in his life. Has a reputation as one of the most physically intimidating and unpredictable men in British boxing circles. Has been involved in confrontations at press conferences, at events, with journalists, with fighters, with pretty much anyone who crosses him. And has recently dropped training footage that shows a big, strong physical man who clearly believes in himself completely. On paper, it is not a contest. But boxing, and this kind of crossover event specifically, does not always play out on paper. And that is why the pros are genuinely conflicted. Let's start with Eddie Hearn because his take is probably the most nuanced of the lot and sets up everything else really well. Hearn is not backing against Froch on the cobbles. His words, never. He says that clearly and without hesitation. Carl Froch's boxing instincts, his ability to read a fight, his power, his timing, all of that is on a completely different level to anything John Fury has. And Hearn knows both men well enough to say that with conviction. But then comes the but. And it is a big but. John Fury is a massive human being. And Hearn hints, fairly strongly, that John Fury is not going to be particularly worried about keeping things clean if it starts going wrong for him. Illegal moves, holding, rough tactics, the kind of stuff that makes a fight messy and unpredictable and dangerous for everyone involved. And Hearn's point is that in that kind of chaos, in that kind of street-level ugly brawl, the technical advantages that Froch brings start to matter a little bit less. His prediction essentially lands on Froch winning, but it not being clean and it not being comfortable. And for a man of Froch's quality to be predicted an uncomfortable night against a 60-year-old non-professional tells you everything about what kind of force of nature John Fury actually is in person. Johnny Nelson is fascinating on this because he gives you both sides of the argument better than almost anyone else. He thinks Froch wins. He thinks if it gets properly physical and Froch is allowed to box and move and use his skills, then it is only going one way. The Cobra is dangerous, he is still sharp, and his experience in high-pressure situations is unmatched. John Fury has never felt a proper boxer's punch landing clean on his chin, and Nelson thinks that the moment that happens, it changes everything. But Nelson also gives John Fury enormous credit for something that has nothing to do with boxing ability. He says John Fury has already done his job. By creating this whole situation, by generating this level of attention, by getting everyone talking, by making a genuine Hall of Famer commit to fighting him on social media, Fury has already won a version of this. Whatever happens in the ring, the story is already written. And Nelson respects that. His prediction is Froch, but he will not put around on it. And that hesitation from someone of Nelson's experience and knowledge is telling. He has seen enough in boxing to know that the man who is supposed to win does not always win. Right, so Spencer Oliver's prediction is honestly one of the funniest things to come out of this whole situation, and you need the full story to appreciate it. Someone asks Spencer Oliver directly, who wins, John Fury or Carl Froch? And Oliver, without hesitation, goes with the Cobra. Of course he does. Froch is dangerous, still in shape at 48, Hall of Famer, the skill level is not comparable. Froch all day. And then he looks over his shoulder, and John Fury is standing right there behind him. And Oliver, brilliant as he is, goes, actually, you know what, John Fury. John Fury wins this one. Now look, everyone laughed. It was funny. But here is what that moment actually tells you that nobody is talking about. Even in a jokey context, even in a situation where the rational answer is clearly Froch, the physical presence of John Fury in the room made an experienced boxing man change his answer. That is not nothing. That is actually one of John Fury's greatest weapons, and it costs him nothing to deploy it. He does not need to throw a punch, he just needs to be in the room. Oliver's official prediction is Froch, but that shoulder check moment is the most honest prediction anyone has given in this entire saga. Now, Shane Fury is obviously not a neutral party here. This is John Fury's son. But his take is actually worth listening to properly because it is more measured than you might expect, and it raises a genuinely interesting point. Shane's position is essentially this: you cannot spend months criticizing someone publicly, saying things about them and their family on a YouTube channel with millions of viewers, and then be surprised when that person confronts you face to face. He is not endorsing how his dad went about it necessarily, but he is making the point that words have consequences, and Froch knew that going in. And when it comes to the fight itself, Shane is predictably backing his dad, but the way he does it is interesting. He does not make wild claims about John Fury knocking Froch out or dominating him. He says his dad has qualities that people are underestimating, that John Fury's experience of real physical confrontation outside the ring gives him something that trained boxers sometimes lack: a complete absence of fear. And in a fight like this, at this level, against this kind of opponent, that might actually matter. His prediction is John Fury, but even Shane sounds like he is hoping more than he is certain, right? So beyond the big names, there are a few other predictions floating around the boxing world that are worth getting into because they add layers to this whole thing. Dave Allen, the White Rhino, who knows John Fury personally and has genuine respect for him and the whole family, is being very careful with his words. He is not picking a winner publicly. But reading between the lines of everything he has said, the way he talks about Fury's unpredictability, the way he talks about the chaos factor, he clearly thinks this is not as one-sided as the stats suggest. Dave Allen has been in tough fights himself. He knows what it feels like when a big man is coming at you with nothing to lose. And he thinks that energy from John Fury is real and dangerous. Gareth Davies, who has spoken to John Fury one-on-one about this, makes a point that nobody else is really making. He says John Fury told him directly that he will not let any man beat him in front of his son, that this is personal in a way that goes beyond boxing, beyond money, beyond social media. If this fight happens at Tottenham with Tyson ringside, John Fury will be drawing on something that has nothing to do with training camps or technical ability. And Davies thinks that emotional fuel is not something you can train for or prepare against. And then there is the Southpaw stance analysis, which frames this entire fight as a masterclass in psychological warfare that John Fury has been running for weeks. The argument is that by the time they actually get in there, Froch will have been so bombarded with John Fury's chaos and energy and unpredictability that the mental battle will already have taken a toll. Whether you buy that or not, it is an interesting angle. Okay, so here is my honest take. Having gone through every single prediction and reaction from every corner of the boxing world, Carl Froch wins this fight, and it is not particularly close in terms of boxing ability. The skill gap between a 4-time world champion and a 60-year-old non-professional is enormous, and nothing John Fury has shown in training footage or in any confrontation changes that fundamental reality. Froch's timing, his power, his ability to read a fight, his chin, his heart, all of it is on a different planet to anything Fury can match technically. But here is the caveat that every single pro has been dancing around without quite saying outright. If John Fury lands one of those big shots clean, genuinely clean on Carl Froch's chin, it does not matter how many world titles you have won. Physics does not care about your Hall of Fame plaque. And John Fury at 60 years old is still a physically massive and genuinely strong human being. So the prediction is Froch, comfortably on points or a stoppage in the middle rounds when the size and age gap becomes impossible for Fury to manage. But the caveat is always that one punch. And in a fight this unconventional, in a venue this electric, with these two personalities, that one punch is always alive. The pros know it, Froch knows it, and somewhere underneath all the bravado and the chest beating and the social media warfare, John Fury knows it too, which is exactly why he keeps turning up. So there you have it. Every boxing pro prediction broken down, every angle covered, every caveat laid out. The verdict from the sport is Froch, but nobody is putting their house on it. And that tells you everything you need to know about why this fight, as unconventional and chaotic and borderline ridiculous as it is, has the entire boxing world genuinely gripped. Who are you going with? Drop it in the comments, Froch or Fury. I want to see where this audience stands. Until next time,